and welcome to this week's Spotlight interview, IE News Election 2012 campaign. This is Peter Mathews, professor at Cypress College, and you are running for Congress in the 47th District.
Yes, the 47th District. I live in Long Beach. I've been here for 21 years, and I worked in Cypress College and taught there for 26 years. So we've got both sides of the district covered in some sense.
So you've got 1 foot in Orange County and 1 foot in Long Beach.
That's correct.
And at this moment, there really is no other candidate that has a foothold in Orange County.
Yeah, we're unique in that respect, and we appreciate that very much. And lots of students are going to be involved with our campaign.
So when did you enter the campaign?
I got official status on Friday when we turned all our petition signatures in, and today I got a call saying you're in. So that was end of last week, actually. I thought a long time before doing it this time because I had a newly born baby daughter who's 3.5 months old, my wife Latoya and I, and our little baby girl wants to be able to have education. You know, we want her to be able to go to the best preschools and have the smaller class sizes once again, kindergarten through 3rd grade, back to 20, now 30, and we all wanted to go to UC Berkeley if she'd like to choose that university, and that's going to cost a lot of money if things go like they are now. It's out of reach right now for a lot of middle class people. That's why I'm running for Congress, for education, jobs in the economy, and also health care.
And you are the first Democrat that we know of at the moment who's come into the race to run. It's an open primary. However, there's only one other Democrat, which is Alan Lowenthal, and he's sort of an established Democrat. Been part of the Sacramento machine and also Long Beach City College. Long Beach City Council for many years. How do you plan to beat someone with that type of establishment in California?
By focusing on the election for America and for this district, not against Lowenthal. I'm not running against Lowenthal or against anyone. I'm running right now to bring back our jobs, to make sure our schools are working for our children. And many of these folks who are in politics right now, they're good people. They had good ideas and intentions. They've been there for 20 years, and they had their hands tied by the lobbyist money that they had to take to get elected. I, in my campaign, refuse to take any money from corporate lobbyists. We do believe in helping corporations create jobs in America by lowering the corporate tax rate and making sure the technology is here, an educated workforce. The educated workforce from right here. Long Beach City College provides a lot of educated people to go to work for these corporations, but with their tuition skyrocketing here to what, $46 a unit this summer? It's going to be outrageous. So the politicians already in office haven't been able to solve the problems, unfortunately. Our major problems have risen since they came in. I'm not blaming them personally at all. I just think it's time for a fresh start with new ideas that focuses on the human resource that we have, our people. And I believe there should be some of the corporate loopholes should be closed also, like the tax loophole, where in California we're the only major oil producing state that has no severance tax on crude oil coming out of our ground, and we lose about $4 billion a year that could be used for education. That's why I co-wrote an initiative with Dr. Paul Garver to place a small 15% severance tax on oil coming out of California's ground, prohibiting it from being passed on to the consumer in the form of higher gas prices, and that money will go to K through 12, about $1.3 billion, $1.4 billion to community colleges, and about $560 million to Cal State, and about $420 million to UCs. This will cover from kindergarten and preschool all the way up to universities. That's what we've done already. We've written legislation already. We're in the process of getting 500,000 signatures to put it on the ballot. So we didn't wait to get into Congress to do this. But I must mention one more thing, and I'll stop talking so you can ask me another question. President Obama.
I'm trying to get a question.
This is real quick. President Obama has proposed a budget, a federal budget, was about $4 trillion. It has a $1.2 trillion deficit. I believe in balancing that budget. And by closing the corporate loopholes, you can bring some of that money in to pay down the federal debt and put us back in fiscal responsibility again. And President Obama also has actually offered $8 billion for community colleges nationwide to the Congress, for the budget for Congress to pass. And Congress is going to be holding it up. I know they're going to have a hard time getting that passed. But $8 billion for community colleges will bring in about $2 billion for California alone, which means millions for Long Beach City College and Cypress College. And we can do that when I get to Congress by bringing that money back here to our district.
So if you did institute a 15% severance tax on crude oil, how would that affect the average middle-class consumer?
Not at all. I'll tell you why. Because Alaska has a tax like that, Texas, and about 24 other states, and their price of gasoline is lower than here by 50 cents in Texas, for example. Because, and here's the other thing, UC Berkeley did a study that showed if a small severance 15% tax was placed only in California, which adds us to the rest of the world, because the rest of the world has severance taxes, the other 26 states with their severance taxes, we're paying for that already because we get oil from Alaska and other places. It's already in our gallon of gas. If we add a 15% to California oil, which by the way gets mixed to the entire world oil supply and comes back to us, it'll raise the price of gas by less than 1/2 of 1 cent per gallon. And we've already prohibited that in the legislation, and the Supreme Court allows states to prohibit passing on of these fees. If they try to pass this oil fee on the higher gas prices, they get fined by the State Board of Equalization in our legislation and return that money to us, a return in rebate checks. So we covered our bases all the way around.
Well, do you worry that as a candidate, people are going to see you as a tax and spend Democrat?
No. Because I believe in supply and demand, in fiscal responsibility. I believe in closing some of the unproductive corporate loopholes, like the oil tax, but also other tax. For example, if a corporation shuts down its factories here in California, opens them up in Puerto Rico, pays 1/4 the wage, they can bring back all of that income tax-free. That's not fair. They should be able to go to Puerto Rico, it's part of the United States, and pay whatever they can pay and make profits, but they shouldn't have tax-free income. Do you have tax-free income, by the way, Michelle?
Not yet.
I don't have tax-free income either. The rest of America is paying taxes. The big companies can open up a mailbox in the Cayman Islands, say that they're based over there. That's not a legal loophole passed by Congress. And so I would close those loopholes, bring in over $500 billion a year, and reduce college tuitions nationwide, and bring that money in President Obama was offering to community colleges. I'm not a tax and spend liberal. I'm someone who believes in empowerment, giving people equal opportunity. That's the key right now. We don't have equal opportunity in America for the middle class. The richest people, the 1%, have all the opportunity, and the rest of us don't. I'm not against them making money, but they have to pay a fair share to help all of us, including our students right here, to have an opportunity.
Now, you mentioned health care earlier. Tell me what your feelings are about Obamacare and the way that legislation is written.
I believe that President Obama tried to get comprehensive health care. He also wanted to have a public option that would have been able to compete with the private health care that we have now. And we all would have had a choice, public or private, if we wanted to. But he never got the public option because the health care lobbyists, the health insurance companies, the HMOs, the drug companies basically paid Congress campaign contributions, and Congress blocked the president from having the public option. So it's not the best health care reform. It is something in advance. It took a step in advance because it has, in fact, required, the Obama health care reform requires that insurance companies cover students, for example, if they're living at home. And when they turn 21, they'd have to drop their health care. It would have to be dropped under the old system. Under President Obama's reform, you can, as a student, you can keep your health care until you're 26-year-old, your parents' health care. That's one reform. And he also prohibited the keeping people from getting insurance based on pre-existing conditions. That's another reform. But these are piecemeal reforms. I would prefer a comprehensive system like Medicare for all. Or we could even have, combined with that, we could have private health purchasing cooperatives made up of small businesses coming together, having bigger bargaining power to reduce their health care costs by being able to bargain with the insurance companies. And the private sector prefers that. Those two things. Purchasing cooperatives for the private sector, as well as a Medicare for all if you want to opt into that. That should be the way to solve it. And most countries that have Medicare for all, like Canada and France, have their health care costs cut in half. The Canadians' health care per person is about 1/2 to 2/3 what we pay here per person, and we don't even cover 50 million of our people. In France, it's even about half what we pay here for health care. So we can do it here. This is a great country. We put a man on the moon. We can certainly build new products, solar panels, maglev trains. High-speed rail is important. I think we should have a good, efficient high-speed rail system, but not overspend on it. We should make sure that it works.
Why is that important, though? Why is it important to have high-speed rail? I mean, I think it sounds like a really nice convenience, but why is it so compelling to some people?
It is because we need to build it from here to San Francisco, not going through all these small little towns through Bakersfield, etc. Start it from here to San Francisco so it can afford, it'll be viable, because people travel a lot more between the Bay Area and here than to Bakersfield. Am I right?
Yeah.
So you build it from here to the Bay Area, people can commute. In fact, people can commute to get work. My wife was offered a job before we got married in San Francisco for $75,000 just out of college, out of Cal State Fullerton. $75,000 a year. She had to turn it down because we couldn't move to San Francisco because I'm teaching here already. See what I mean? If we had a high-speed rail, I could have commuted, or she could have commuted.
On a daily basis.
Or we could have lived halfway. Yeah, we could. Even better than high-speed rail is maglev. Have you heard of maglev? Not only does China have it now, but the Europeans, France, Britain, Germany have all had maglev that travels 350 miles per hour, and you can balance a glass of wine without spilling it on that train. And believe me, if we have that, we could literally commute in 1 hour to San Francisco back and forth and have jobs in both cities, have people living in one city and working in the other. But high-speed rail is a halfway step there. The Chinese, by the way, the Chinese government just came up with a plan, they've already funded it, to build a nationwide network of high-speed rail in China. What that'll do is reduce our dependence on foreign oil, keep us out of wars in the Middle East, and I believe we should withdraw from Afghanistan. It's becoming incredibly dangerous and unproductive to be there right now the way we've been there for 10 years now. And we need to negotiate a settlement there and get all the parties together and then just withdraw out of there, get our troops out of there. So I believe the unnecessary wars wouldn't have to be fought if we have energy independence. So I support alternative energy like solar panel production. I support wind power and tide power. Look at the tide here. We can go down on Huntington Beach and have a wave power with those tide generators that produce electricity. They do it in England. 20% of British electricity is produced by tide power. Germany produces over half
Do you
its
think we
electricity
could
by
get
solar
that
panels.
happening in Long Beach? Is that what you're saying?
Long Beach especially, because we're on the beach. Look at the word beach. I mean, we should use that name to mean something, am I right? Long Beach means we should use the beach, enjoy the water, keep it clean, bring the waves back if we can as well. And the port is wonderful. I believe in making the port more green, bringing in new technologies that we can have hybrid electric trucks that'll reduce the port pollution, that'll have cranes that operate on batteries. We could invent the world's longest running electric car battery like the South Koreans have done. We are building electric cars here and importing electric car batteries. Can't Long Beach City College train people to build batteries here? I think we could do that and create $30 an hour jobs. It takes vision and boldness. This is not a time to be timid. This is not a time to play politics as usual, as many of our leaders have done. Unfortunately, they're taking incremental, tiny little baby steps when there's a vision that the American people believe in. The vision of Dr. Martin Luther King, of people like John F. Kennedy, who helped put a man on the moon, and many other presidents, Franklin Roosevelt, Eleanor Roosevelt. We need to bring those visionaries back and their ideas back. That's what I like to do.
So with all these ideas that you have, how are you going to get your name out there with all these heavy hitters in this race?
Right. Well, we have the people. We've got about 100, 200 students already signed up to work with us from different colleges that we've been talking to and making, since, for about 5 months, I've been running the Tax Oil to Fund Education initiative, the oil severance tax, and we've toured the state on different campuses. We got chapters set up for the to get the signature gathering. Some of those folks have decided when they heard that I'm going to run to bring the money in for community colleges from President Obama's budget, they've joined and jumped ship with it to us. They've said, we would like to be part of a new type of campaign that takes no money from corporate lobbyists, especially big oil companies and energy companies. We want the new wave politics, Peter Mathews, and they've joined us. So we're very excited that people power door to door, making phone calls, and some money to get on some TV commercial on cable. That kind of campaign is what we're going to run. A very new campaign.
Well, we wish you the very best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being with us.
How about my website, MathewsForCongress.org? Is that okay to give it out?
Absolutely.
MathewsForCongress.org. And you can check that out or call a cell phone. I give my cell phone out to all the voters, by the way.
Quickly.
It's 562-234-3319. 562-234-3319.
Thank you very much,
Michelle.
Mr. Mathews, for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for the interview.
This is Michelle Lecours for IE News.